Hey everyone, today on People Now. Some news in the case of Breonna Taylor. Louisville bans no-knock warrants. We have the latest update. Meet your new Bachelor. ABC has listened to its fans and has cast Matt James as the first Black Bachelor of the franchise. We have the details. Taylor Swift is helping fans who are making a huge difference for people in need. Hear what she's doing. Queer Eye stars Bobby Burke and Tan France are talking all about season 5 of the show, and hear how Tan celebrated becoming a U.S. citizen.
His father has been kidnapped, and his father has been kidnapped by the fairies.
Who is captured by fairies? Director Kenneth Branagh is talking about his new film, ARTEMIS FOWL. Plus,
I'm so impressed by the video of you on a skateboard juggling.
The star of ARTEMIS FOWL, Ferdia Shaw, is quite the juggler. I asked him and his co-stars all about their talents on set. That and so much more today on People Now. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to People Now. I hope you're having a good Friday so far. I'm Andrea Boehlke here in Wisconsin. It's just you and me kicking it off today, but Jeremy will join us later on in the show. We have a lot to get to today, starting with this. Louisville, Kentucky City Council has officially passed Breonna's Law, an ordinance which will ban the use of no-knock search warrants. The Louisville Metro Council voted unanimously on Thursday in favor of the new law, which was named in memory of Breonna Taylor. Taylor is the 26-year-old EMT who was asleep with her boyfriend, Kenny Walker, when 3 police officers entered their home unannounced, shooting her at least 8 times. In an interview on the Today Show on Friday, Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer, says Walker, who shot back at the officers with his licensed gun, did not know the intruders were the police. Watch this.
Kenny and the 7 other neighbors that lived there stated that nobody heard them announce themselves. They did not announce themselves. Kenny called the police. If you tell me you're the police, I'm not going to call the police.
Metro Council President David James told CNN affiliate WLKY that the passing of the law sets an example for other cities to follow. As for Taylor's family, he says, "We are with them." Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher tweeted Thursday evening that he planned to sign Breonna's Law as soon as it hit his desk, adding that the law is, quote, "one of the many critical steps on police reform that we've taken to create a more peaceful, just, compassionate, and equitable community." The American Civil Liberties Union executive director responded to the vote as well, calling the decision a, quote, "small bit of justice for Breonna's mourning family and our angry, heartbroken city." Immediately following the big news, crowds of people in Louisville gathered in celebration. Taylor's mom told people that she's grateful people want justice, adding that her daughter is becoming a part of history. Matt James is your new Bachelor. Fans of the franchise may recognize him as best friend of Bachelor Nation fan fave Tyler Cameron, and he's making history as The Bachelor's first ever Black male lead. Good Morning America announced the news on Friday with a statement from the president of ABC reading in part, "We know we have a responsibility to make sure the love stories we're seeing on screen are representative of the world we live in." The statement goes on, "We will continue to take action with regard to diversity issues on this franchise." Rachel Lindsay made history as the first Black female lead on season 13 of The Bachelorette in 2017 and has been speaking out about the show's lack of diversity ever since. On GMA Friday, she continued to express those opinions, calling for diversity on and off screen. Take a look.
I want producers of color. I would like for them to cast leads that are interested in dating outside of their race and aren't just getting their first time experience for the first time on national TV. I need the acknowledgement of that. Not putting a Band-Aid over the situation and just saying, here, we're gonna put this here. Are you happy now?
Prior to being named the new Bachelor, Matt James was previously cast as one of Claire Crawley's Bachelorette contestants. It's still unknown if Matt will remain one of Claire's suitors. Production for that season shut down in March amid COVID-19. Matt made headlines back in April after Claire seemingly called him out on Twitter for being on the show for the wrong reasons, citing the fact that he was, quote, doing interviews and creating Cameo accounts. At the time, Matt clarified that he was active on the Cameo app in order to raise money for coronavirus relief. Matt being selected as The Bachelor is something his BFF Tyler Cameron predicted. People caught up with Tyler in August of 2019, where he joked, "I can't wait to watch him next year," even revealing that it was Tyler's mom who signed Matt up for the franchise. Now, these two go way back. They met as college football teammates, and here's a quick look at what Tyler told me about their friendship today.
It's one of my best friends. I'm very grateful for his relationship and his friendship, and he's always there for me, and I'm very happy with having him in my life.
Matt James' season of The Bachelor is expected to premiere in 2021, and we can't wait. Taylor Swift is helping some of her teen fans do good. When Taylor learned that Yasmin and Grace were raising money to donate hair care and skincare essentials to people of color in need, she decided to lend a hand. On Tuesday, Yasmin and Grace shared this video to Instagram explaining that they were going on a supply run to get a big haul of products to donate to a local church helping families in need. And they explained why this particular cause is so close to their hearts. Watch.
It kind of like hit me in the heart because we both know that hair care and skincare for people of color can be both more expensive and harder to find in the stores because it's not, next to, all the other things. Right. So, yeah, we both felt like we should do something. Yeah, we should do something.
Then they posted this video of them shopping for the products. The video is set to Taylor Swift's activist anthem, Only the Young. And it looks like the videos caught T Swift's attention. On Thursday, Yasmin tweeted screen grabs to prove it, showing that Taylor Nation LLC had donated $1,300 to go toward their next supply run. Alongside the donation was a note from Taylor thanking them for everything they're doing to help people and asking them to keep her updated on future runs. And if you want to help the girls, you can donate on Venmo to Yasmin-Norman or on the Cash App to $Yasmin Norman. Meghan Markle's good friend Jessica Mulroney is having her TV show I Do Redo pulled from the Canadian network CTV after a lifestyle blogger called out Mulroney for her, quote, textbook white privilege. CTV posted a statement on Thursday about the decision, saying in part, Bell Media and CTV encourages our entire team, including our on-air talent, to practice respect, inclusivity, and allyship as we pledge to work better and more openly to listen to and amplify Black voices and not to minimize them. In response to the news, Mulroney said she's decided to step away from her professional engagements at this time. She went on to add, I realize more than ever how being a white privileged woman has put me far ahead of so many, and in particular, those in the Black community. And while I can't change the past, I can do my part to do better in the future. On Wednesday, Canadian lifestyle blogger Sasha Exeter shared a 12-minute-long Instagram video detailing what she calls her Amy Cooper experience. That's a reference to the white woman who called police on a Black man in Central Park who asked her to leash her dog. Exeter said she and Mulroney were feuding after Mulroney took offense to her generic call to action to show support for the Black Lives Matter movement. She says that Mulroney's behavior became problematic after that and ended with Mulroney sending her a threat in writing. Mulroney commented on that video to apologize, saying that she is unequivocally sorry. But one day later on Thursday, Exeter shared an update on her Instagram story, including a screenshot of an Instagram direct message that Mulroney sent her, threatening a libel lawsuit. Exeter said this in response. Here's what happens when you call out somebody with privilege and with wealth. They publicly make an apology, and privately behind closed doors, they send you a threat of filing a lawsuit against you.
All right, stay with us. We're talking with Queer Eye stars Bobby Burke and Tan France about Season 5 and Pride Month. Plus, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. stars in Spike Lee's new Netflix drama. It's called The Five Bloods. He's sharing with us his thoughts on why the global protests against racism and police brutality are long overdue.
We want to know everything about the man you work for.
The man? Oh no. This isn't about the father. This is about the son, Artemis Fowl.
The film Artemis Fowl is streaming now on Disney+, and it's based on a series of books that follows a 12-year-old mastermind on an adventure of a lifetime. Director Kenneth Branagh explains some of the differences fans of the book can expect.
In the books, Artemis starts immediately as this 11-year-old Bond villain. In the movie, it's a little more of an origin story where we set him in a slightly more ordinary environment. He goes to a relatively normal school, and during the course of the early part of the movie, he discovers he is not ordinary. His father has been kidnapped, and his father has been kidnapped by the fairies. So we start with him as a kind of relatively familiar hero, and he ends up as an anti-hero, a kid who has to decide whether he is a criminal mastermind and wants to be that and run the family business, or maybe take a different kind of path. So I think what we see for new viewers, people who don't know the books, is a chance to see Artemis's character unfold in this single story from normal kid to extraordinary possible superhero.
Ferdia Shaw is making his acting debut as Artemis, and he reveals how he overcame one major snafu to snag the part.
They all went pretty well, but I think the second audition really stood out for me, because the thing about it was I actually forgot to print off one of the scripts, that was in the email that I was supposed to learn. And I ended up turning up to the audition with no idea that there was a second scene that I was supposed to have learned. So I ended up having to sit out in the corridor for 15 minutes and then going in and just doing the scene, and it went perfectly. And I just remember that just being like the best day ever, because I was so panicked by that, just not having the second scene. But it just went fine.
I actually auditioned originally for Holly, and my last audition, which was a screen test, was one of the people auditioning was Lara, and I was like, wow, she does play this character so well. And I found out I didn't get the part, but I found out that Ken wanted me in the movie, so he gave me the part of Juliet, which was super amazing. I was super grateful for it. But I think that literally no one could have played Holly like Lara does, and I think she's just so amazing.
As a juggler myself, I was very excited to talk to Ferdia about his serious juggling skills, as well as what else the cast got up to on set. Ferdia, shout out for being a great juggler, because I love juggling and you're so good at it. I'm so impressed by the video of you on a skateboard juggling.
Yeah. I learned that on set because one of the stuntmen used to be in the circus. He used to teach juggling, so he was getting off my
all
phone.
the time.
He also started, he hadn't surfed before, he hadn't skateboarded in that way before. He's a great tennis player, he's very coordinated, but no, he was always doing something. Plus, we always ribbed them about the schoolwork that they had to do. And of course, Lara became this incredible flyer. She's a real aerialist now, and they were always outdoing each other. The competition between the two of them and Tamara, who plays Juliet, for who could be the most sort of acrobatically gymnastic, was a kind of ongoing competition.
What kind of moves would you bring out on set?
A lot of cartwheels. I bring my foot up to my head quite a lot, and we'd also have quite a few arguments about who's the tallest. That was definitely a thing, because it was 2 years ago. We were all pretty short. We were all about 4'11". We were all really short, and Lara, I think, was the tallest, and it was between me and Ferdia, and we were like, I am taller, and he'd be, no, I am taller, and I'd say, Ferdia, no, I am taller.
Wait, so now do you keep up with who's the tallest now?
I haven't seen him, so I don't think I believe him. If he said, like, oh, I'm 5'5", and I'd be like, no, I'm 5'4", but I do not believe you. But yeah, I definitely think he's grown. We'll just have to, once the reunion happens, we'll have to see.
Lara plays the young elf Holly and got to work closely alongside Dame Judi Dench, who plays Commander Root. She opens up about the magical experience.
She is an absolute legend, and to get to meet her, let alone work with her, is such an honor for me as an actress. And she, just being in her presence, she has such an aura about her, and being in her presence and getting to watch her at work is less than enough, I think, for anyone. Getting to see what she does and how she does it is just such a privilege to be able to see. She is so funny, and I don't think a lot of people know that about her, but she is so cheeky. She's incredibly funny, and she made me laugh so much during our scenes. She is such a cheeky, lovely person.
Josh Gad has worked with Judy and Kenneth before on the film Murder on the Orient Express, and he claims to be best friends with the Dame. We got the inside scoop from both Kenneth and Josh on the true nature of their friendship. Watch this.
They are incredibly close. Judy sent Josh a pillow which had embroidered on it, "Back off, Josh Gad," because she always felt that he was getting too close to her and trying to make her close up a two-shot with him in it. She said he always wanted to be in every shot and he couldn't do it. She needed to explain that to him. So apart from that single difference, which is Josh wanting to be in every single shot, including the ones with Judi Dench, I think they get on very well.
Where do you keep this amazing pillow? Oh,
right there. Hang on. You can see I'm in shorts right now. This is the lovely thing about doing these press junkets from home.
I love it.
Right there.
That's pretty incredible. Did you give her a gift back?
I should have had her sign it. I did give her a gift back. I think I got her like a really nice bottle of champagne. Like I got her something not condescending, and she in turn just got me like a cease and desist pillow.
I'm obsessed with it. I love your friendship. How would you describe your friendship with Judi Dench?
Unrequited love. I absolutely cherish that woman. I am so unhealthily obsessed with her. I just, you have to remember when I went to college, our curriculum, our sophomore year was studying Shakespeare, and because I went to conservatory, and so the nature by which we studied that curriculum was by starting with Sir Kenneth Branagh and Dame Judi Dench films, and that would sort of be our way in. So it was incredibly surreal to team up not once but twice with these iconic heroes of mine.
You look so sexy.
Oh, you're so beautiful.
Thank you. I'm just astonished. I can say that I'm not the same person I was just a few days ago. And not many people can say that their life can change so much in just a few days. You guys didn't just come in and give me some new clothes and a new apartment space. You guys gave me like a new outlook.
The 5th season of Queer Eye is streaming now on Netflix. And I spoke to 2 of the Fab Five, Bobby Burke and Tan France, all about the new season and so much more, including the biggest misconceptions about them, their favorite behind-the-scenes moments, how Tan celebrated becoming a U.S. citizen this week, and how working on this series has affected their personal worldviews. Watch this. Let's talk about this season. So it took place in Philadelphia. What was the biggest difference for both of you when it came to shooting there, what it was like opposed to earlier seasons?
The first 2 seasons we shot were in Georgia. They had that Southern hospitality going, so it was easier. Kansas City was easier also because they were easier to break down. The saying in Philly is Philly tough, and that couldn't be more apt. They definitely were a tougher nut to crack, but it made it a lot more interesting because you really had to think differently. It honestly could be a case of getting complacent. At this point, we've shot so much of Queer Eye, it could be easy to go in thinking, I know what to say, I know what I'm going to do. But with this Philly crowd, it actually made me think really differently and think, how am I going to get them to open up to me and really emote? And so I think it makes for a stronger show.
Yeah, did you find that to be the case, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, our struggles are usually always the same.
What was your favorite behind-the-scenes moment or wildest story from making this season?
The Jersey Shore episode where you see us in the bumper cars for like a second, that was actually went on for quite some time. And then, of course, Cromwell always has a soda in his hand, which he brought onto the bumper cars. And so the moment we all ran into him, his soda flew everywhere and made the whole place sticky. That was one of the most fun moments because we really are just 5 freaking kids.
And that whole time on the Jersey Shore in general, I was going to say the Jersey Shore because I didn't ever expect to go to the Jersey Shore. I didn't know how close it was to Philly. And just being out, we don't usually go out in public as a fivesome. And so it was very strange being out in public in a very, very public space. They did not close it down for us. And so they just had security. And so it was incredibly intense, but wonderful, like an experience I'll never forget.
I have to ask you about this, Tan, because I just was on your Instagram. So at the time that we're recording this interview, just a few hours ago, you officially became a U.S. citizen. So you've been working towards this for 20 years. Congratulations. Walk me through the emotions and how you felt when you were at the swearing-in ceremony and why this is so important to you.
It's been important to me for 20 years. The first time I visited America, I knew that this was going to be my home. I desperately wanted it. It was important because I've spent so many years away from my husband because of visa requirements, and that was a real struggle. And then I always so desperately wanted to be able to vote. I've been in this country as a green card holder for 6 years now, I think, 7 years maybe. And with everything that's going on with the unrest in this country, it feels just like the perfect time to be able to say, I can vote. And even if it's just one vote, that vote matters. And so it's been an incredibly emotional day. The timing couldn't have been more perfect for me.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously is a weird time. Did you get to celebrate in any way?
No, we've been doing press events.
You get to celebrate by talking to us.
I know. Actually, I did celebrate in the most American way. My favorite donut place is on the way home, so I had 2 donuts in the car on the way to doing press.
Nice.
That feels very American to me.
There went that no sugar for months. You were doing so well.
And like you mentioned, a lot of the national conversation right now is about racial injustice, specifically towards Black people. Now, a great thing about your show, it's always been about breaking down barriers between people that don't necessarily see eye to eye. You know, how would you say making this series and meeting people from all across the world has really kind of changed your perspective or worldview?
Our show, we've always tried to make sure it's as diverse as physically possible. I didn't realize how timely the season that we shot in Philly was going to be for what's happening right now and the launch. I've always made a point of talking about inequality and racism. I've been talking about it for years. And I think it's more important now than ever that we encourage people to not just acknowledge it, but learn, educate ourselves. And so for me, what I've learned is that I need to also continue to listen, continue to educate myself. I think many of us are in a position where we think, well, we're part of a minority group, so we understand. That's not necessarily the case. I've experienced racism my whole life up until moving to Utah, and I knew racism. I thought I knew racism until I really started to look into what happens systemically with the Black community in America. And so there's always room for learning more and growing and understanding the complications and difficulty of your brethren.
You know, being a part of something like this has been very humbling. To be able to be a part of a show that isn't just about quote unquote entertainment, it's about trying to make a change, and not just a change in the lives of the heroes that we meet while we're filming, but also hopefully in the world. Visibility, not just for the LGBTQ plus community, but you know, the Black Lives Matter community, you know, immigrant families, to be able to shine a light, and a positive light, when there's so many things in the press that aren't positive. It's very humbling, and it's such an honor to be able to do that, to go to work every day and know that the show that you're making is hopefully helping the world to be a better place.
Yeah, over the years on the show, it's been great to see that Karamo's been so outspoken about being a Black man in America, growing up Black in America. I mean, how has working with him in particular and hearing his experiences impacted your perspectives? Tan, we can start with you.
Karamo has been very vocal in this space, and I'm glad he is. The way it's impacted me is, again, I've learned about a community I didn't understand as much beforehand. I was born and raised in the UK, and I live in Utah, where quite honestly it's not very diverse at all. And so I don't really have access to somebody, or hadn't had access to somebody who could really tell me the American Black experience. And so learning from Karamo has been invaluable for me.
He's so good at getting people to open up because he really truly listens. And it's taught me how to listen to people better. And it's taught me how to listen to his experiences better. You know, he grew up in Houston. I was born in Houston, spent a lot of my summers in Houston. And we grew up with very different lives though. And to be able to hear stories from him about the struggles that he went through because of the color of his skin has opened up my mind and my heart to thinking about that in every aspect of my life, and making sure that I'm out there fighting for that change.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You know, you two are both in the public eye. This show has completely taken off. What do you think is the biggest misconception about yourself?
I think the biggest misconception about me is that I'm quiet and shy. I'm actually not. I'm just on a show with people who are less quiet and shy.
Yeah, that's true. I think this is probably a weird one, but I think the greatest common misconception is that we came into this as famous people, like celebrities. I think that people forget that we're actually people, and so the things that they will say online that are incredibly helpful, the judgments that they will have, the critiques that people have for us, I just think we're people. You should know this. We're on an unscripted show where you really get to see who we are. You get to see our hearts and minds, and you're still spouting this negativity. That is something I really wish people would learn more of, is that there are people behind these public personas. Yeah.
One of the things I've been seeing in the last few days, a tweet that really stands out to me is a young lady who was saying, "Oh, you know, I'm just having a moment here, crying at this scene where Pastor Noah is saying blah blah blah." She's like, "Even though my boyfriend's like, you know, that's all scripted, right?" She's like, "But leave me alone. I'm having my moment." It's not scripted, people. It is. We do not think about the things that we're saying before. Even if there's something that we're audio messed up and something that we are the hero said didn't get picked up, it's not like, "Oh, hey, can we get that again?" No. Our whole goal every day is to get our heroes to forget they're on a show, so that they really do have a valid, true experience with us. And it's not like we're just on a show trying to get them to talk. So keep in mind, our show is not scripted at all. God, sometimes we wish it was. It would be so much easier, you know, but we really truly are, as it is happening, coming up with things to say and talking points. You know, it is not a scripted show in any way.
If you could go back and give your pre-Queer Eye self some advice, what would it be?
The thing I would say to myself is don't hide away so much. You've got nothing to be ashamed of. Talk about your heritage. Talk about your gayness. Nothing to be ashamed of. Don't hide away your femininity. It is who you are.
Honestly, kind of the same. You know, we live such the same life in the last few years that a lot of the lessons that we learn about ourselves and about each other are all very similar.
Yeah.
For more from Bobby, Tan, and the rest of the Fab Five, watch season 5 of Queer Eye, streaming now on Netflix. And in honor of Pride Month, make sure to catch our special where the Fab Five shares their personal coming out stories, only on PeopleTV.
Wow, finally. Now, look at you, baby. It sure is good to see y'all. Is this some shit? I'm telling, it's a stone cold trip being back here in country. Baby, we got off that plane, got a heat, hit me upside the head, kabop, just like in 68. Yeah, brother man, we are back. The Bloods is back.
The Five Bloods follows African-American veterans who return to Vietnam to find the remains of their squad leader. They're confronted by lingering effects of the war. Pretty intense film with some history lessons along the way and sprinkled with some comedic moments as well. To tell us more about the movie, we're joined by Isaiah Whitlock Jr. Thank you for being here. Thanks for taking some time for me today.
Thank you. You bet. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk some about what's going on in the country. Obviously, everyone's attention right now, and really globally, not only in the country, but you know, pointed toward moving civil rights forward, addressing these issues of police brutality, and bringing about greater awareness of injustice. What are your thoughts on this moment?
I think the protests are great. I think they're long overdue. But as I think about it, I ask myself, where do we go from here? Where do we go when the protests stop? Will we be able to have that dialogue that I think is necessary, like a constructive dialogue that's going to lead to some kind of fundamental change? Because if you don't, then I think it's just a massive waste of time. And I hope and pray that all of these protests can lead to that. But when I hear people say there is no systemic racism, then that makes me wonder, well, that's not a good starting place, you know. It's gonna take a whole hell of a lot longer to right the situation.
It's interesting timing, you know, this movie is filled with references to the experience of African Americans in the United States with pieces of history and so many other kind of anecdotes throughout the storytelling. What do you think makes this movie kind of an essential watch during these times?
Because I feel that when you look at parts of the movie, you begin to realize not much has really changed over the past 40 years since the last sort of uprising in regards to civil rights. And you begin to ask yourself, well, what is it? What is happening? What we put a lid on it. We put a lid on things, and every now and then we take a peek. Eric Garner, we take a peek. Aubrey, we take a peek. And now the lid has like come off. And there was a lot of things in shooting the movie that I was not aware of. I was not aware of African Americans in the Vietnam War. I mean, I knew that there were, but I did not know to what extent. And I did not know how disproportionate it was with African Americans fighting and dying on the front lines. And so that was news to me. And I always say, if it's news to me, it's pretty much news to everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Spike Lee there, you've worked with him several times. I think anyone that has worked with him, you often hear that it's a very unique and memorable experience. What makes him such a special filmmaker to work with?
Well, one of the things is Spike listens to you. I mean, you know, Spike he's got like this incredible vision, but he has a way of pulling you in and making you part of that. So you almost feel like a bit of a collaborator. And you feel like, you know, he wants to hear what your idea is in certain moments. And he allows you a lot of room to play and improvise. and come up with things. And after working with him for so many years over the past, I seem to have lost a certain amount of anxiety when I'm around him, because I mean, it is Spike Lee, you know, and so I've grown to relax, and that just opens me up more to do some of the things that I want to do. And I mean, you know, sometimes he says no, and then sometimes he says, you know, I think that's a great idea. Let's run with it, roll with it.
Yeah, creating kind of like a community experience, it sounds like, as someone else on the set. That's really incredible. And also, Chadwick Boseman here, this is the first time you've worked with him. I've interviewed him a couple times, and just such a dynamic person, even in a brief encounter in an interview. Talk to me about working with him and what the standout was.
Well, the great thing about Chadwick was that he came in later to do his scenes. And I was amazed at how he just blended in to the fabric that we had created for almost a month before he had shown up. And after about a day or two, it felt like he had been there the whole time. There was a seamlessness to it that really added, you know, and we really got around him as the squad leader and really believed that he was the guy who was running that squad 40 years ago. And that to me made a huge difference because we all know it could always go the other way.
I know you're always asked about it. Here we go again, The Wire. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. And look, I feel like now people are binging stuff more and more, and while they're staying at home, maybe rediscovering or discovering the show for the first time. I don't know if it's given you a moment to look back or if you've ever stopped thinking about it, but from your perspective, when you look back on that time, what stands out?
When I think about The Wire, I just think how I ended up in the show. I was only supposed to come down and do a couple of scenes. And when they called me, I told them no. I said, I was playing Othello in Alabama. And I said, you know, I can't be bothered with her trivial show. Tell them that Othello says no. And my agent called me again and he said, are you sure? I said, no. I said, you know, I don't want to miss a performance down here. And then finally, they got me down into Baltimore, and David Simon came up to me and said, hey, look, you know, we really like the stuff you're doing. We're going to write a storyline for you. And that's why we were so adamant to have you come down and do this. But oddly enough, the first time I sort of turned it down. Would have been the biggest mistake I ever made in my life.
Well, it gave you notoriety. It gave obviously like this huge fan base, and it gave you a bobblehead, my friend. And I think if there's many things to look at along the way that say I've made it, having your own bobblehead, perhaps the top thing.
Well, I'm in the Bobblehead Hall of Fame in Milwaukee.
That's good. That's next level. And for people that don't know, it's for that catchphrase, she probably won't be able to say, but nonetheless.
I just can't get over it, you know, because it's something that I sort of did off the cuff in the 25th hour, and then it worked its way into The Wire, and now it's when I die, it's gonna be on my tombstone.
Affectionately.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Probably gonna express how I actually feel. You know?
Man, it's such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for taking some time today.
Thank you.
And guys, The Five Bloods is now streaming on Netflix.
This season has all the ingredients to be the most epic event of the year.
Reigning champions are back to defend their titles. Fan favorites return for another shot at the course.
This is a chance for redemption and the big comeback.
And new ninjas step up to prove they have what it takes to win.
I feel deep down in my heart that I can win this.
Plus, for the first time ever, junior ninjas will have one final chance to qualify for the quarterfinals with never-before-seen wildcard spots.
The season finale of American Ninja Warrior Jr. airs tonight, and it has been a season of nonstop fun. I caught up with the action-packed show's hosts, Matt Eisman and Akbar Bajabiamila, where they chatted to me about their favorite moments this season. Akbar also opened up about how the show has changed him after having what he calls NFL arrogance after playing pro football for many years. Watch.
For me, the NFL arrogance was the NFL, the biggest sport in America. Maybe not globally, but in America, definitely, it is the #1 sport. And there's this kind of aura, arrogance, like, hey, I played in the NFL. I played the tough stuff. The rest of the stuff is just the rest of the stuff. But then I quickly became humbled as I saw the athleticism out of these athletes on Ninja Warrior, Ninja Junior, and you just see the way they're able to utilize their body in ways that I still can't comprehend 10 years later. I mean, I'm just still trying to figure out how these ninjas are able to train. And having a little taste of it, training with Kevin Bull for the Celebrity Ninja Warrior, it just really put me in a position where I'm in awe of the athletes when I see what they do, the way they just they make it look easy. So you just think, oh yeah, I can do that. And then when you try it, Matt knows he's been in the hospital a couple of times trying to do it. But when you try it, that's when you go, oh, hell no. Like the human body is just not supposed to move the way the ninjas are moving their body.
Yeah, I called it low-level college baseball arrogance, and it certainly got taken away too. Andrea.
Hey, look, these jerseys may look cool in the background, but I wish I had a ninja jersey in the background here.
Yeah, how do you instill this new attitude towards the ninjas?
Well, I think one of the great things is we don't have to do anything. That this was a community that from the very beginning, from the moment I joined the show, the ninjas already had a sense of what this was. And it wasn't about competition. And we saw that from the very beginning. We thought there was going to be cutthroat competition. Instead, what we saw was community. We saw ninjas elevating one another, and in doing so, lifting themselves up. They get better together. And I think that's been one of the things that has appealed to so many people, and particularly for the young kids who maybe don't feel they fit in football or basketball or baseball, or just don't like sometimes the cutthroat approach, to come to Ninja where everybody falls. And it's not about being the best, it's being your best. And I think it's just been remarkable to see that. And I know Akbar and I think we've learned a lot from being around the ninjas.
Well, yeah, Matt, and I'd say the biggest thing that I've learned, especially during this pandemic, we've talked about, trying to make ninja courses, what are we doing to stay sane? I think Ninja Warriors truly prepared, at least the athletes and the Ninja Juniors have prepared them for this obstacle. It's a huge obstacle that the whole world is trying to navigate, especially as it's so fluid, things are changing, new data are coming out. And I think the one thing that is true that's in the fabric of all of these ninjas and the ninja community is that they know how to overcome obstacles. And so no doubt about it, when you're at home and you're just kind of like, man, I'm going stir crazy, leave it up to the ninjas to come up with new ways to overcome the stir crazy.
I know. And the season finale is coming up, which is really exciting. So Akbar, tell us about the competitors. Who should we be looking out for?
Well, look, first off, when I look at these ninjas and I look at the Ninja Juniors and how hard they raced all season long, I think it's a testament to these ninjas, their spirit and their ability to compete, especially when you look at the age group and think about how young they are. And, there's a lot that goes out there when you talk about young kids being able to compete in a competitive environment. And I think our Ninja Juniors, they've shown that. Matt, I know we've got a big finals coming up.
When people are watching the show, the obstacles are going to seem familiar because they were on the main show. These are obstacles that we slightly scaled down because some of these kids are 4 feet tall and 40 pounds. But other than that, proportionally, I think the reason we're allowing them on the main show is we're seeing their athleticism, their strength is just pound for pound insanely good. And the other thing we learned that was so awesome to see was to watch these kids facing down their fears. Because especially the first season, I don't think they understood what they were getting into, what being on TV meant. But now some of them came back and they were stars. They're stars in their school. And you saw them, some of them felt the pressure at the start line. We saw some tears. But to a person, you would see not just our mentors coming over, but the other junior ninjas coming over, like patting them on the shoulder. And when we see them get through the course, and Akbar, how many times do we see someone get to the end of the course, whether they won or not, just having a smile because they knew they felt this fear. They felt they couldn't get through it. And instead they did. And the joy of a life, it's a life lesson that will stay with them. This thing of, hey, I was scared and I got through it and I'm so glad I did.
And Matt, and a lot of that fear came from the unknown, the obstacles that are new on American Ninja Warrior Junior, to Matt's point. We've seen them on the big show, but for the ninjas to actually be on there, the Ninja Juniors to actually go out there and attack that, there's a natural fear that happens for anybody when you're trying something new. And to be able to respond to that during competition, high stakes, thousands of people, millions of people watching at home, that's a big deal. And I would say on the other side of fear is something magical. And we're gonna see something magical in this finals because these ninjas, they show you how to push past fear when they're competing against other ninjas. And Matt, I mean, how many times did we almost get in tears in the booth, you know, showing a different side? I mean, I know it brings the daddy out of me, you know what I mean? And we're sitting there, we're going back and we're cheering them on. And a lot of them have accomplished a lot just being there and making it that far.
All right, we want to end today on a lighthearted note by celebrating a very important holiday this weekend, National Rosé Day. And since it is the end of the week, we could all use a drink. Here to teach us more about our favorite summer wine, she's a certified sommelier, a contributor to MarthaStewart.com, and most importantly, she's a rosé lover just like me. Please welcome to People Now, Sarah Tracy. Hi, how's it going, Sarah?
Hello, happy rosé season. It's finally here.
I know, we're very pumped about it. What are the best foods to pair with rosé?
Well, the good news is rosé is a very versatile pairing partner depending on the style of rosé you choose. So if you want a really like light and delicate, pretty rosé, you could do like a Pinot Noir rosé. I have one right now from Erath from Oregon, and that could pair nicely with seafood like salmon or shrimp or scallops. You want a more, savory rosé, something based on Syrah. I have the Chateau Ste. Michelle Columbia Valley Rosé. That's really great with the grilled meats and more savory dishes.
All right, so you have a lot of options here. And now I know you have not one, but two easy cocktails that we can make at home to brighten up our day. So what are we making here?
All right, so the first is like a rosé punch, and it's super easy to make. So you just want to start with a pitcher filled with some ice. It's hot out there, so you want to make sure these are cocktails that are very refreshing. And I'm going to start by adding half a bottle of rosé. Just pour it right in there. You don't have to get fancy or measure it out. These are supposed to be really easy and relaxing drinks to make.
I wish I had some here. I don't have any material.
All right,
I'm just living vicariously through the screen.
Exactly. Well, then I'm going to kick it up a notch, and I'm going to actually add a half cup of vodka. This is a strawberry flavored vodka. You can totally use like a citrus vodka too, would work really well in this.
I'm a vodka girl, so you're speaking my language.
Oh yeah. And then I want to make it pretty, so I'm going to add just some fresh strawberries. I took about probably 10 or so. Just slice those up. And finally, I'm just going to add some sparkling, this is like a lemon flavored club soda, just to give it a little bit of fizz. That's all there is to this one. I'm just going to kind of mix it, combine all those flavors together. And then I'm gonna pour it into a glass with some ice. You're getting, that dry, delicate rosé with a little bit of that strawberry kick, some citrus, and finally, just gonna garnish it with a sprig of rosemary.
Cute.
That's gonna give you that beautiful aroma, very spring, summer cocktails. I love garnishing with fresh herbs. So easy, it looks way more fancy and way more effortful than it is. So yeah, really delicious strawberry rosé punch. I have another one that's even easier, if you can believe that.
Let's do it.
And this is a rosé lemonade. And basically I'm just making a classic lemonade, but I'm using rosé instead of water. So hey, can't get easier than that. I'm just gonna take a mixing glass, and I have the juice of 2 lemons, and just pour that in right there. That's our lemon component.
Do you squeeze your own lemons? What do you suggest?
Yeah, I think fresh squeezed is always better. There's just something about fresh squeezed lemonade that just sings summer to me. You can certainly use it bottled or from concentrate if that's all you have, but I would say take the extra, 3 minutes to squeeze your own. It really gives so much more freshness and impact to the finished drink. But then you need to sweeten it up a little bit. I'm just using some simple syrup, which is half sugar, half water. You dissolve that on the stove, and I'm gonna put about a tablespoon of that in there. And then all I'm gonna do is then add rosé to it. So I have really cool 14 Hands Winery. It's a rosé in a can. And this is just the perfect option if you want to go camping this summer, you want to go to the beach, you want to go somewhere where maybe you can't bring glass with you. So I think wines in can are awesome for that reason. I'm just gonna top that off with this rosé. The color is just so beautiful. It looks like a summer sunrise.
It really does.
And then I'm gonna pour it into a pretty glass, and that kind of combines all the flavors together. But with this one, I'm gonna use a sprig of fresh mint to garnish with.
Nice.
Mint, lemonade, and rosé. It's like such a beautiful, pretty summer sipper. This would be like my brunch cocktail, like maybe something for during the daytime, or like sitting on the patio in the afternoon. I'll take a sip of this one too.
Well, they both seem like such great drinks, really easy to make. I am now gonna go gather my own materials and make these drinks because it seems so refreshing. Sarah, thank you so much for stopping by and teaching us these easy recipes. And everyone, for more tips, tricks, and recipes, you can check out Sarah's website, thelushlifeny.com.
Yes, and happy Rosé Day.
Yes, happy Rosé Day. Cheers. All right, coming up next week, Padma Lakshmi is telling us about her new series, Taste the Nation, where she explores foods from various immigrant groups across the country. Plus, Bryce Dallas Howard joins us. She's making her feature film directorial debut with the upcoming Apple TV documentary called Dads. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and healthy. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.